right, YouTube, what is up? We are in the conservatory. But I've just come off the back of a very, very interesting discovery call with a potential client and golfer, covering all things high performance, right? With some potential handbrakes that they were dealing with. But it's become very clear and very apparent that most golfers that work extremely hard, but don't really feel like they ever see any return or reward for their hard work, kind of bleeds into their self-doubt and their insecurities and their frustration and their fears that they have about themselves, the world and the game and their career, right? Which is understandable because, you know, the reason why you're not seeing the results in which you want is not because of a lack of talent. It's not because you're not good enough. It's not because you don't work hard enough. It's not because you're not committed. Because if those things were true, you wouldn't still be here, right? And it normally comes down to three things, yeah? And those three things go undermined because everybody just wants to be like, oh, I can work the hardest and I can do this with my swing and I can just turn up to as many competitions and events and just keep working the range, keep working the gym, and you end up burning out, you end up getting tired, you end up hating the game, and you end up thinking, Jesus, is this it? Like, am I actually going to be able to make this work, or am I going to amount to nothing and let everyone down and waste my potential and waste all of my opportunities? And until you figure these three things out, nothing will change. You'll continue to struggle when the pressure is on. And those three things are: where are you heading? Who do you need to become to get there? And what parts of you do you need to let go of to get there? And how are you going to get there? Now, I'll go into more detail with each one of them in a second. Essentially, what these three questions or three answers can help you achieve is what you want, right? It's more focus, so you can stay more focused out on the golf course. You can have something to work towards and have something to strive towards, and be very, very clear on that every action that you take every single day is drilled in towards the thing that you want. Who do you need to become is more of an identity thing. And then we've got energy, right? We're talking physical energy, emotional energy, mental energy to help you show up at your best. High performers need energy. You can't operate from a place of lack where, you know, you are dealing with a lot of emotional stress. You have got a lot on your head and a lot of thoughts, and you're in your own head, and the body's tired, right? Because obviously, if the brain's tired, the body's tired. If the body's tired, the brain will be tired. And if we don't get enough sleep, you know, the raw materials, the sleep, the hydration, the food. I think I said that twice, but never mind. The raw materials, even your physical well-being, right? If all of those things aren't there, it's going to be very hard to perform at your best. And then lastly, flow. It's what everyone wants, right? When everything just feels like it clicks. It feels like you're floating. It feels like the world is your oyster. You just show up. You played your best. You weren't in your own head. You were out here. You were present. You were in the moment. You enjoyed yourself, rather than just everything just felt like a fight. You didn't enjoy it at all. So let's go back to the three pillars, right? The three questions you can ask yourself. Where are you going? Not a vague, I just want to play on tour. I just want to win a tournament. I want to win a major. A vivid, deeply felt, specific picture of your future. The one that you are building everything towards. Because without a clear focus or destination, your focus will scatter. Your brain will have nothing to anchor to. And a mind without an anchor will revert back to the default, what it knows best: fear, doubt, insecurity, comparison. The greatest athletes and elite athletes in sport, in golf, they know exactly where they're headed. And that clarity is what helps organize everything else and operate from a place that they know that they can. And secondly, who do you need to become? Who do you need to become, and what parts of you do you need to let go of? This is where most performance coaches get it wrong. They're always about the whats and the hows instead of who. Who do I need to become to perform at this level consistently? Because you can have the better swing, more talent, routines, whatever it is that the technical stuff that you need out in the golf course. But if the person stood over the ball is still experiencing doubt, fear, insecurity, and comparison, or even performing from other people's expectations rather than their own, the swing will not save you. There's something deeper going on underneath with your identity and the way that you see yourself to be able to become somebody different that can hold up under pressure. And until that identity is built, you'll continue to keep hitting that same ceiling that you can't break and that you can't explain why. And then lastly, how you get there. Now, I'm not just talking about a practice plan or going to the next tournament. I'm talking about a process and a system, a mental performance system and a pathway that connects from where you are right now to where you want to go. Because what ends up happening is that every bad result or all the information you get back from each tournament becomes proof that things aren't going to work out, becomes proof that you might not be enough. And it starts to become more of a personal attack. And the energy that you should be performing from gets wasted and the energy that you need gets wasted through doubt that you don't know how you're going to get there. You're a little bit unsure. And then obviously from there, you might end up like not committing fully to your practice, your gym, because there's that little voice in your head that goes, what if this doesn't work out? But with all three of these, you're able to know so surely about how you see yourself and how you're going to get there, who you need to become, where am I going, and how am I going to get there. Because as you know, elite athletes don't just kind of hope their way to success, right? They engineer it. They have systems that produce consistency, regardless of how they're feeling, how they're thinking on the day, the circumstances, the conditions, anything that might interrupt that pattern right now. Because high performance is being able to show up and perform regardless of how you think or feel in any given situation to the highest standard and feel enough and enjoy the journey along the way. And if you don't have these three things ironed out, you won't have that. You might think it's high standards, you might think it's high performance, but it's not. It's just leading for you to continue to go around in the same circle and same loop as you always have. And you can continue to outwork the rest of the field, but underperform. Underperform from a place of where you know you're capable of, but it never shows. And the hard work without the direction and the clarity just leads to exhaustion. You might end up falling out of love with the game and just think, do you know what, it's not even worth it. And then quitting and giving up. Or just keep fighting and getting nowhere. Talent without identity is just potential, untapped potential. And ambition without a system just becomes pressure and noise. And the golfers that I work with most of the time aren't broken. You're not broken. You're high performers, ambitious people who have been doing everything right on the surface, but not been working with what's going on underneath. And the answer is always the same with all of them. The work was there, but the clarity wasn't. The effort was there, but the alignment wasn't. And when those three things click into place, where you're going, who you need to become, how you're going to get there, results become inevitable because you're no longer hoping to perform, you're built to perform. And that's what an aligned golfer is. That's how everything inside Pressure Proof Golf works. We get very clear on where you're going, who you need to become and what parts of you need to let go and how you're going to get there to reach your true potential in that flow state and that peak performance that you're trying so hard to get right now, but undermine and ignore the things that are going on underneath. Go and ask yourself those questions. Get clear. And if you need help with that, then just drop me a message on Instagram, Josh Madison, at Josh Madison with 2 Ds, __, and we can book in a mental performance audit where we can get very clear on where you want to go, what the current handbrake is in between where you want to go and where you are right now, and put a plan in place to get there. And then if at the end of that you want to learn a little bit more about how I operate and how I work and how I can help you do that and support you to perform better under pressure and reach high performance and reach your potential, we can talk about it. If not, you'll leave with a plan, a little bit more clarity, and something to work towards to get there. But until then, I'll see you on the next one.